to test the command. And there's a test script button. Actually, unfortunately, I didn't put it in the screenshot. I did in this one. Here it is at the bottom. You don't actually have to save your script before you test it. And that's useful because you can make changes to a script, test it, and then if you find out it's not working, you can hit the cancel button to revert back to your prior version if necessary. So once I confirm that the script is working, I can save the command script and close this window, and now I'm back on the main setup page. I'm going to add another command. This time I'm going to add power off. Again, this one's very similar to the last one. Instead of main.power equals on, it's main.power equals off. And again, I can test the script and save it. And then we're back at the main setup page again. So now we have both the power commands in place. I want to take a closer look at the port listener script. And to do that, we'll just click on Edit Port Script here. And this is the default template that we saved before. Let's take a look at the mechanics of how this template works as we did with the sensor port listener. Again, at the top, we are including both system script for the system functions and the port listener script for the port listening functions. This time, instead of the sensor open and sensor close functions, we have a single function called process input data. This function is also a little different than before because we have this input parameter here, an argument called input data. And input data is actually the text that we receive on the serial port from our AVR when it communicates back to us. And we'll come back and look at this in a minute. And these lines of code are very similar to what we had before. We pull the port number from the launch arguments. We create our port listener, tell it which function to call, what the port number is, and then we tell it to start listening. So back at our process input data function, we're going to replace the comment text with an inspection of the inbound data. Again, I'm going to get into the scripting syntax next week, but basically what this does, so the actual text you put in here depends, again, on the RS-232 specification for the device you're controlling. In the case of this NAD receiver, incoming data always takes the form of a variable name and then an equal sign and then a value. And so I can actually go in and look at that string and pull out the first part into a variable called parameter and the second part into a variable called value. And then I can inspect the value of that parameter variable. And if parameter is equal to main.power, I can take some action. So this is where it starts to get interesting.